Greetings, folks, and welcome back to the Small Business Show here. It's 2020, and we have no idea what to do for this episode. Isn't that right,
That's
Shannon?
We're leaning back on our plan B, maybe plan C and D. So we're going to talk about that today for sure.
For sure. Yeah, because we had a plan. We had a guest that couldn't make it at the last minute, and that happens. And you have to be ready for that sort of thing. And
yeah,
that's totally fine. It's how
sometimes
it goes.
These shows. Yeah, sometimes the impromptu shows where we each talk about a few different things that are going on are some of the best shows that we've ever done. They get some of the best reactions from our listeners. So I'm excited to start recording again in 2020, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the year.
Yeah, same. Hey, before we get whatever this episode's going to be started, I want to reiterate something that you will have said at the end, which is email us at feedback@businessshow.co and tell us about your business. It might be more interesting than you think, and we might want to have you on the show. So feedback@businessshow.co. Tell us what you got going on, and we'll say it again at the end of the show, or Shannon has already said it at the end of the show. It's weird the way time shifts, isn't it? This whole concept of linear time, we could do a whole show about that, but we won't, because that's not what this is. I'm Dave Hamilton. He's Shannon Jean, and this is the Small Business Show, episode 258.
Hey, Dave. How was CES?
CES was, it's good. I hear a lot of people complain about CES, and understandably so. It's a mess, right? There's 180,000 extra people in Las Vegas. It's right after
all at that show. All at
CES. Yeah. It spans the entire length of the Strip with 5 convention centers that are official, and then countless meeting suites and other convention centers. Like, there's a convention center at the Hard Rock Hotel that is not part of CES. And actually, the Hard Rock Hotel is no more as of like tomorrow or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're changing it to the Virgin Hotel or something. But anyway, Harman, JBL, now Samsung rents out the convention center at the Hard Rock and puts on their own pavilion there, because they want to, their stuff would span so many different pavilions at CES. They've got the automotive, they've got the, the audio stuff, and they want to, of course, keep it all like on brand, and they want to have all their executives in one place, not spread around. And, it's smart, right? So
do they open that up to everybody, or is it kind of invited guests, journalists, that kind of thing?
Invited guests and journalists. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Yep. And cool. So there's all the official stuff, and then, all the unofficial stuff that just sort of, it takes over every corner of Las Vegas. And now I hear they're building a 6th official convention hall that they're going to use for CES. I don't even know what they're going to do with that.
That's wild.
It's fine. I mean, the thing is, if you go to CES with a plan, you are fine. Some conferences, you can just go and wander, especially if they're not that one. No because you can't. Somebody did the math before I went this year. I don't know, some email list I'm on or something. And they said, look, if you take the hours that the convention halls are open for 4 days, and you have no travel time between booths, and especially no travel time between expo halls, which could be, an hour if you get stuck in the wrong traffic or go at the wrong time or whatever. And you try to see every booth. And of course you don't eat or take a bio break or anything like that. You would have 23 seconds per booth to spend with these people. So an impossibility to see everything. Right. And so you have to go in with a plan, and
so let's talk about that. Yeah, we've done shows in the past about the trade shows, conferences, and I'm a big proponent of them. I think they're very useful on a number of different levels. Not the least is, connecting face to face with people that you may not get a chance to see, as well as just kind of reinvigorating yourself, getting yourself excited about your industry, that kind of stuff.
Totally.
But you're right. Without a plan, it can be a nightmare. And I have done that, you
Same.
know, as I was mentioning, you show up, you think you're going to walk around and make some great connections, and you're just one person in 180,000, and it's tough to make those connections. So how do you prepare before you go? And yours will be a little different because you're also coming from a journalist angle.
Correct.
Is that the primary role you're playing at the show?
That's the primary, role is an interesting thing. If you put it in as the role of an actor, then yeah, that's sort of my door opener, if you will, at CES. And there is a lot that I do in terms of coverage. I try to put together, 15 or 20 separate pieces from the show floor at CES, or from my experience at CES. I actually spend very little time on the show floor, as we'll get to. But that's the thing. But there is, CES, as with any conference, but CES especially, I look at as a very big force of gravity. It brings a lot of people to the same general place. Certainly, the same 2-mile stretch of Las Vegas Strip or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's handy. If there's people that I need to see or want to see or feel that it is valuable to see, CES probably saves me 10 to 15 separate trips to go and see those people.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah. So yes, but using the role of journalist is definitely my primary function there, I guess. I mean, I wear so many hats all the time. I don't know that there's ever one that I wear, without others sort of being right under the surface.
Sure.
But, there's a lot of networking and that sort of thing. So my goal going in is, yes, to get some coverage, but also neat industry connections, either maintaining, I call it relationship maintenance or relationship development. And that really is my primary goal. So there's the role and there's the goal. And my primary goal is relationships while I'm there. New relationships and existing relationships, just to keep people kind of moving along. So I always say that my planning for CES starts in November. Now, really, it probably starts I've already got my hotel rooms booked for next year, because I've found that it's cheaper to buy or to rent, a 2-bedroom suite at a hotel than it is to get 2 separate rooms. And with the suite, I get a living room in between. So I have several suites already booked for next year. I'll cancel the ones I don't need. But, just the sort of the being smart about how you're booking.
That makes sense.
Stuff. Yeah.
And I really like that, too, because especially if you're because we used to bring employees with us. Yeah. CES is it gives you a place that you can centralized. Okay, I've got this living room kind of thing in between the bedrooms, and you can hang out, you can meet, you can kind of what's the plan for the day?
Yes.
Versus trying to do it like in a hotel lobby, where it's chaos and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I really do like that idea.
Yeah, it's great. You can bring room service in one day if you need to get some work done, and you can bring a breakfast in or whatever, and yeah. So that's it's an ever evolving sort of thing, but that I've already got booked for next year because they don't put the CES pricing in until like May or June, so I try to get ahead of that, and thus far it has worked. So, but really my schedule planning starts in maybe a week or two before Thanksgiving, and I start looking through who's going to be there, who I want to meet with. And the first thing I do is plan out where I'm going to be on any given segment of any given day. And at CES, I break my day down into 3 segments. Morning, which is basically until noon, afternoon, which would go from noon-ish to say 5-ish, and then evening. So morning, afternoon, evening. Where am I going to be at any of these points? Because the travel around Vegas is the worst time suck that you can have.
Yeah. It's terrific.
Yeah. Now, I've had some people in the past that have said, hey, I want to meet with you while you're there. What we've done is rented a, Hummer limo or something. And so you tell us when you need to travel from point A to point B, and we will take you and give you your meeting in the car on the way. So that's sort of the benefit of being a journalist. Yeah, exactly. Right. People that people want to meet with. I'm sure investors get the same sort of thing. But generally speaking, the downtime, the travel time is downtime. It doesn't have to be. And I've got an example of where that worked out really well. But so, I plan that very carefully. I plan where I stay very carefully. We have found that staying at the Mirage is great because it's kind of in the middle of the Strip and it's right across the street from the Venetian, which is twice the price for the rooms, but it's literally across the street. Like Vegas, you could say next door and it could be a 20-minute walk.
Yeah, exactly. It can be very deceiving, especially late at night.
Yes. Yeah. But the Venetian is truly just across the street from the Mirage, and the Venetian is connected to the Sands Convention Center and also all the meeting space at the Sands. And the Mirage is also right next door to Caesars, which has a ton of meeting space. And the Mirage is where one of the bigger press events is hosted one of the nights. So it really is a good central place to be. The only thing it's not next to is, of course, the Las Vegas Convention Center. There's a couple of ways to get there. There's a bus from the Mirage. There's a bus that runs all day between the Sands and the Las Vegas Convention Center. And then, of course, there's Uber and Lyft, which are, relatively speaking, a new arrival in Vegas, but makes all the difference in the world. You can kind of get around if you know what you're doing. So I plan my days. I break them up into three segments, periods, if you will, if you're a hockey player. Right. And then I say, okay, this is where I'm going to be here. This is where I'm going to be there. And then as all the emails come in, or I think of the people that I want to meet with, I reach out, I find out where they're going to be. And then I try and compartmentalize my meetings with them so that I can really make things efficient. And by and large, it works. There are three main press events that happen. There are these weird events. If you've never been to one, it's sort of hard to describe. I've heard somebody call them speed dating with the press. CES has one that they put on called Unveiled, and then there's two that are third-party ones called Showstoppers and PepCom. And what it is it's kind of like an expo hall, but it's not. It's one big room, but no one has like an elaborate booth. Everybody is just at a table. And it makes it really easy to jump from one place to the next without having to deal with, somebody has this, flying car in their booth and all this other crazy distracting stuff. People are just there to show you and talk about their products. And the only attendees are press, which is great because assuming I'm there in the role of press, if I show up and you're there and you're talking to someone, chances are the second half of your conversation is relevant to me. So I can just eavesdrop in on that. And then when you're done, you leave and I get the first half of the conversation and then I'm ready to go. And it works out great.
That's cool.
And it's super efficient. So if I can meet people there, I will not meet them anywhere else. Like if they're going to be there, I don't agree to go to their booth or their meeting suite or anything like that because it's super efficient and I can really make use of the time. And of course, I'm hearing about their products, but I'm also meeting with them as humans. So there's that whole relationship maintenance development goal. Yeah, that's being served. And so a lot of times I'll talk to people and it's like, well, we're probably not going to cover your stuff, or at least not this week. But, we're here. We're humans. We get to interact and that's a good thing. So, yeah.
No, that's great. And I think from a small business owner perspective, I think you ought to try to get into a trade show or a conference of some type at least once a year.
Oh, at least.
Because if there's more, maybe regional ones or close to you, or, if you don't want to travel as much, that I think, more is better. But the key is you have to have that plan. And I like what, when we were going, we did a couple different things. One is we would use it as an incentive for employees that we wanted to reward by, hey, why don't you go represent us at this show?
Sure.
And sometimes we would be, we'd have our own booth. And so we would let, hey, we need people to come work the booth. But other times it was just, oh, hey, we're going to CES. In the case of this show, why don't you come with us? This is what you want to do. And we would set some clear, I hate to use the word goals because we believe in systems here, not goals. But I would create a system where they could be successful meeting people at the show. And one of the things that I see a lot is that pre-planning. I see it on LinkedIn all the time. Some folks who I think are really good at it are the people over at Tech Defenders. We had, remember, Gary Von Meyer on the show, one of the founders of Tech Defenders. And I see in their feed all the time, we're going to this show. These are the two people that are going to be there. Let's meet. Do you want to connect? here's how to connect with us. And I love that because it's in their feed. Whoever's following Tech Defenders or these individuals, it allows you to, oh, hey, I'm going to be there. Why don't we, let's meet, let's have coffee, let's have a beer, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think LinkedIn is a really great way to get that pre-planning done, either with a post like that or, go into your suppliers' LinkedIn pages or talk to your reps. Hey, are you going to this show? Can we get together? Can we meet? Are you guys hosting? Are you going to have a suite? Like you said, most things don't take place on the show floor, right? It's a lot at hotels around the area, different suites, dinners, all that kind of stuff. So you want to try to get connected with that. And I think LinkedIn is a great way. And just your contacts in general, send out an email, let them know I'm going to be at this show. Is there any chance that we can get together?
And people like it. But with what, as I found with CES, as I get into the, probably second week of December, a lot of people's schedules are already full. Not completely full, but full to the point where I have trouble fitting them into my desired, schedule by location matrix that I've come up with. Yeah. So that's why I start out early. And there's, even this year, there were some folks that I meet with routinely and almost have them just, put in my schedule at a certain time every year. And this year, for whatever reason, I'm maybe I was a few days later or something, who knows? And they're like, oh yeah, sorry, that time's booked. And it's like, whoa, seriously. Okay. I thought I was one of the early ones. I guess not. You got to be on top of this stuff. So this year was a little different because I had a few of those that I had to sort of detour around to get to, but you always make it work. I always leave room for, what I like to call the audibles, right? Where something comes up, as it always is going to when there's, a week like that, where it's like, oh, I definitely want to meet with that person. So suddenly I now need to squeeze something in that I just didn't plan for, but I did plan for it because I left room. And, you always prioritize. If you've got a meeting with one person and somebody more important comes up, man, that's on you to make that call. And sometimes it's like, well, I'll just cancel that one. People have meetings canceled at trade shows all the time. It's not that big of a deal, so.
Yeah. And from a small business owner perspective, maybe a massive show like CES is not the most productive. Maybe it's smaller shows, that are closer to you where you can have more of a bigger impact, and it's like, we used to do these educational conferences with, school administrators, because that was our niche for the repair of devices and that kind of thing. And, laptops, iPads, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so sometimes, we'd go to a show, a small, regional show, man, and there would only be a couple hundred booths, but we would be busy the entire time. And you would really stand out, especially if you have a nice looking booth. And, I bought a pre-owned trade show booth on eBay, and always looking for a deal. We did a little bit of refurbishment, put some new signage up, and it looked great. And it makes you stand out against the company that's standing there behind a folding table.
Yeah, right. Right.
And so you can have a big impact even at a small show, because as we all know, one contact can make the show worthwhile.
Well, that's the key is just knowing that there's, you don't have to extract or glean the same amount of value out of each person that you meet with. I will have some meetings, and I certainly did last week, where it was like, oh, that was a waste of time. And, in terms of opportunity cost, that was like 45 minutes to, walk myself from wherever I was to here, spend 30 minutes meeting with you. Now I got to go split and talk to somebody else. It's like, well, it's fine. But other times, you're there and it's like, oh, wow, if I didn't come to Vegas for this, I never would have gotten the opportunity to do X, Y, or Z. And that's going to be the thing that, helps propel my business forward. So, you just got to be,
You never know. You never know who that person is, who they're going to introduce you to, who's going to mention the meeting that you had. Oh, I had a great meeting with, Dave Hamilton, and he mentioned this, and you just don't know where it's going to lead to. And it kind of comes back to that concept we discuss a lot, is just getting yourself out there, saying yes to things like this and meeting, making new contacts and putting yourself out there, I think you can do some really positive things at some of these shows and conferences. And I know, Dave, you speak at a number of, these kinds of events. And that's another thing. If your expertise in whatever field that you're in, many of these shows, I would say virtually all of them, are always looking for speakers, people to host, small events or sit on a panel if you don't want to do something on your own, and, reach out to those folks that are organizing the events and get some exposure for your business as well as your own personal brand. I think it's very rewarding as well to be able to get up there and talk about things you probably take for granted that the ins and outs of, whether it's manufacturing cardboard boxes, designing websites, designing stickers, building whatever.
Yeah.
When you get up there and people start asking questions and you like, wow, this is great. And you start providing information back to them, it really helps fuel the creative process. And, it's good for the soul. It's great.
It is. I've often told our staff, people say, oh, this conference looks good, that conference looks good. And sometimes it's worth sending someone for the education value of a conference, or if they're going to be the type of, if that they're going to be networking in a good way, like, yep, that's great. It's a good expense. But most of those things, not all, but most of those things, you also have that opportunity to speak, and they are not mutually exclusive, right? You can do both. And so I've often said, if you want to go to a conference and you want approval for us to, pay for it, get yourself a speaking gig. And that way they're promoting your name too, and by proxy, our name. And that's a good thing for all of us. Yeah. You can go to a conference and speak and still learn and still network and all of that. It doesn't just have to be one or the other. So I
love that.
I have a great little anecdote that I want to tell about maximizing your travel time at a conference, especially one like CES. But first, I want to talk about our sponsor, Linode, at linode.com/SBS. No matter what you're doing with your business, you're going to want a server to run something on. And when you're traveling, you don't want to have to be the one managing the server that's back in your office. You want a server that's hosted somewhere that's fast, that's reliable, that's managed by a team of people that manage servers for a living, not run your business for a living because you're running your business. You definitely want to delegate this to people that are experts. And the folks at Linode are experts. They know how to manage servers. In fact, they know how to build servers so that they can be cost effective and still fast. They use SSDs for everything, for all the disk access, so that you know that your server is going to be running as fast as it can, even if you opt for something like, say, their LINODE, which is just $5 a month, still running on those fast disks so that you're not waiting for things. And if you like managing servers, you can get to the command line on these and go to the terminal, as we Mac people call it, and do whatever you want. But sometimes that's not fun. And for a lot of folks, that's not even an option. Well, you don't have to worry about it because Linode's Cloud Manager lets you set up your server without ever even thinking about the command line. You want to set up a WordPress server for your business? No problem. You just go in, you tell it you want to set up a WordPress server, and it asks you some questions, and then it does all the configuring that you or someone else would have to do at the command line. It's all done automatically. You want to set up a VPN, you want to set up all kinds of things. Check out the Linode Cloud Manager and see what you can do. Go check it out. Linode.com/SBS is where you want to go, because that gives you a $20 credit on us. And that way you can start without spending money out of your pocket. Remember, I said their smallest server is the LINODE at $5 a month. You get 4 months free with $20. So check it out. Linode.com/SBS. Our thanks to Linode for sponsoring this episode. All right.
So before you tell your story.
Yeah, man.
So I just jump up on Linode's website and they have a page. I really like the way they do this. Linode.com/events.
Okay.
And it shows all these events they're going to be at throughout the year. So we've everything, not just in the U.S., Canada, some in Malaysia.
Sure.
So they're either presenting at a conference or in some cases hosting the conference. So, again, great thing to have on your website, a link that says connect with us or events. and go up there and post. Okay, we're going to be here. Here's who you contact. Oh, we're going to have a booth here. Here's the directions and how to meet us. Really, don't just. You got to talk about it. Even if you're just going to go and wander around, this needs to be part of your plan, and you need to promote it in your company newsletter, let your suppliers know, and put it up on your website.
Yeah.
So I thought they had a good way of doing it up there. I figured they would, so I just jumped over here.
No, that's great. Gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And that's one of the things. If you're going to these conferences, tell people that you're going to a conference. That's an important part of it. And
definitely.
So I had one day where I spent my morning at the Las Vegas Convention Center, and then my afternoon was going to be at the Sands. So I say that I avoid the show floor like the plague, and that is true. By and large, the show floor, the problem with the show floor at a trade show like CES is not everybody is there for the same reason. So for me, I'm there to kind of meet with people, but as I said, my role, the face that I wear is that of press most of the time. And so if people don't want to meet with journalists, well, then it's much more difficult to get a meeting with them. But even if they do want to meet with journalists, there are other people on the show floor. Sometimes it's, a distributor from Best Buy that's on the show floor. And many companies will punt a meeting with a journalist in order to have a meeting with the distributor from Best Buy. And I understand that as a business person, right? So I try to go and get meetings where there's less risk of interruption, because sometimes it's just some tire kicker or, somebody's that's got some idea that they're trying to pitch to the people, and they get in the way because the show floor, once you're there, it's like, I've had people like just sort of hang on while they walk me around and show me their stuff, and then they're asking questions. And it's like, dude, okay, great. So I try to avoid it, but there are a few companies that I want to see and meet with that the show floor is really the only effective place to do it. So I go to the show floor. I found this year by accident, I left I wear glasses for distance, like for driving and watching TV or movies. And I also like to wear them on show floors where I have to see long distances to read like booth numbers and things like that. So I was wearing my glasses, but I left my regular glasses in my hotel room. So all I had was sunglasses with me, which is fine. I put them on. I can see it's brightly lit. It's no problem. And I realized the other problem with wearing a badge that says media on it is people want to pester you sometimes, the people you don't want to talk to. But I realized, wow, nobody's pestering me today. And I was like, oh, I look like that jerk that's walking around with sunglasses on. This is great. So maybe that's a new little tip.
Yeah.
But so I had 5 or 6 people that I wanted to see on the show floor there, and then met with somebody in the media lounge, which at the Vegas Convention Center. And then I had to go to the Sands to also have some similar meetings. And I took their little shuttle bus that runs between the two. It's fairly efficient and all of that good stuff. And you know that on the shuttle bus, you're going to wind up sitting with someone because they fill the bus and then send it. So there's no hope of, being in a 2-seat by yourself or anything like that.
Oh, right.
So I sort of embrace that. And I always just sit next to someone that looks interesting. And
that's a good idea.
Well, you never know, right? And at the very least, you're going to have a decent conversation that passes the time as opposed to just sitting there, And so this time I happened to sit next to somebody that looked interesting, this guy, and he was, and it was in a seat that was, there was 2 seats on either side of this bus, but this particular setup of seats was 2 facing 2. So it was possible for somebody else like to sit on the other side. For a long drive, you wouldn't necessarily want that because you're sort of kicking each other. But for a short 10, 15 minute drive, it's no problem. And this woman sat across from us and we were chit chatting and talking about what we all did. And she told us about this technology she had. And it was like, wait a minute, like this is really cool. I'll link to the videos so that I don't have to go through it here, but they're using ultrasound to sense proximity, and they've written the software that does this. They'll use the speaker and microphones in your smartphone to send and listen to this ultrasound, and as your hand gets closer to the phone, it knows that it's closer based on the way the sound reflection is happening. It means you don't need to have an infrared sensor in the phone. You don't need to power an infrared sensor, right? Like all this stuff is just using existing tech that's in there. And she was telling me that, they can get really granular with this. They're doing some tests where they can even detect a heartbeat with this, which is really cool. And and I was like, oh, this is great. And so I did a little video where she demoed the product for me, and the whole thing happened on this bus. It just turned out that she was the CEO of this company, Elliptic Labs, that makes this software, and they've been working on it for like 8 years. I mean, it seems like a simple concept, but probably really difficult to code up. Lots of math and all that.
Yeah,
kind of
I would imagine.
Yeah. But like those are the kinds of things that can happen when you sit down on a bus and talk with people. And I know this is going to come as a surprise, but I am a natural introvert. I'm not necessarily shy.
I still don't believe that, Dave.
I know.
I still don't. I know. I think it depends on the situation.
Well, that's
right?
it. I can be outgoing. Yeah. I can be. I like I said, I've learned not to be shy. I wasn't always not shy, but you can sort of overcome that. But as an introvert, like I need my alone time. I need my downtime, and that's what helps me recharge, so that I can then go out and be this person in public. And it's not that I'm a different person. It's just I need that recharge time. So, but it would be very easy for me to just get on the bus and never talk to anyone like that,
and look at your phone,
look
like
at
most
my
people.
phone or whatever. Yeah, just like totally isolate. But I realized, wait a minute. I can do that on the airplane on the way home. I can do that when I'm at home. I can do that tonight in my hotel room when I'm, winding down for the day or whatever. But right now, I have potential opportunities all around me. And so let's embrace those. Another way that I've factored that into my life is every time my phone rings, I try to answer it. Now, if I'm in the middle of, say, recording a show, I don't. But if I'm at my desk, I don't ever intentionally let things go to voicemail. It's always like, let's answer the phone, because you never know what opportunities lay on the other side of these things. So
I agree. That's a great story. And,
so,
and
you got to maximize your travel time. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. Well, I know that I'll be better off at the next show from following your idea of planning and coming up with things and connecting in advance to people. And one of the things I had on my list today was to discuss is, what is your plan B? And in the case of like this episode, we had a guest that had to kind of drop out at the last minute. So, we always have a list of topics that we want to discuss. And in this case, it just was natural because I love talking about the trade shows and CES, because I've had a lot of success at those kind of events. So it worked out great. And as our listeners know, Dave and I can talk about anything. But if you need to have that backup plan. What if everything goes to hell, right? Yep. What are you going to do? What if you fly? I mean, I've had this happen. I've flown all the way across country just for a meeting and had the meeting canceled, like literally as I'm getting off the plane.
Same.
What are you going to do to maximize your time and turn it into more interesting? In my case, it's like, okay, what customers or suppliers are within I was there overnight, and what customers or suppliers are within an hour drive that I could drop in on, and just out of the blue and come by or take, donuts to, or, that kind of thing, and try to connect with people. But, always thinking of that plan B. And I remembered I was a Boy Scout leader when my kids were growing up, and that is always
be prepared
and have a plan B, because things don't go right all the time, and you got a bunch of kids around that are just staring at you like, what are we going to do now? And
I've learned to mitigate. Like, you're right that you should always have a plan B. Whenever I'm traveling, if I have whatever the main purpose of my trip is, and it might be, like you said, you're going to meet that one main supplier, like that's definitely going to happen. That's why you're getting on the plane. That's why you've spent the money, you've carved out the time. But as soon as I know that I'm doing that, I start thinking about plan B right away, like well before I leave the office. And I reach out and I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to be in town. Are you around? That sort of thing. So that at the very least, I have it in my head who's around, who's going to be, who's nearby. I'm already thinking. I might even have plans with some of those people, but some of them maybe not. But, a text at the last minute. I've gotten so many. There's one ad agency that we work with that we had not been working with. We were aware of each other, but had not been working with. I went to one place. I was on my way there. to a different place that was like sort of the plan A, if you will. And they texted me and they're like, "Yeah, look, dude, today's not going to work. We've all just quit." And what?
Nice.
So like, yeah, we're leaving to like start a competitor or something. Like, today's the wrong day for Dave to show up. Like that's bad. Even the people that are left holding the bag, like they don't want me there today. They want me there in a few weeks maybe, but not today. So I texted somebody at another agency. I'm like, hey, I'm literally in the same area of this city that you are. I know we've been trying to meet and we couldn't set a time. Let me know if you're around. And then I went and grabbed a slice of pizza because it was like, well, I was supposed to have lunch with these other people. So I'm finishing my slice of pizza and the phone rings when I answer it because that's my rule. And it was her. And she's like, have you eaten lunch yet? I'd love to get together. I'm like, of course I haven't eaten lunch.
Of course not.
Of course not. So I went and took a few of them out to lunch and we talked. And now we do a ton of business together because we were able to have that human connection time.
So it's powerful, man.
But you're right. You've got to have that plan B. And if you don't have one, you need to be comfortable with making one up on the fly. Chances are it's going to be fine. It might be a little awkward, like maybe, that one where I've already eaten and now I'm going to eat again. But whatever.
Oh, dude, I've totally done that. Yeah, I in one situation I can recall, I was trying to pitch a repair service for this very large company, and the day I showed up, the CEO got fired, and he was supposed to be involved in these meetings,
Yeah,
and I rolled in. I'm just like, oh. Okay, well, what about you guys? What can we do? Like you want to go out to lunch? Do you guys need to go out? Do you want me to leave for a couple hours and come back? But I was determined to meet with the people who I felt were ultimately going to make the decision.
Yeah.
Even if it was on a casual basis, I understand maybe I can't pitch this idea to you, but let's go and make a connection so you know who I am. And one of the things, and we later did some business with this company, and one comment I heard from this group of people over and over was that the reason we got the business was because I was very upbeat, positive, and flexible, right? It wasn't, it has to be this way. I'm mad. I flew all this way. It was just like, okay, guys, I think sometimes like saying you haven't had lunch when you've already eaten lunch, you kind of have to go, hey, I tell you what, I have a customer down the road. I'm going to go meet with them. How about I come back after lunch or later in the day,
whatever,
and give them some breathing room so they can, okay, great. How about, can we meet this evening? And you may need to just go kill some time, but you have to be resilient and flexible and creative about coming up with ways. And I wound up meeting with, about half the people I was supposed to, but it turned into years of business. And we always would kind of laugh about, at the CEO's expense, of course, that you remember how we first met when the whole place like blew up when we showed up, and it works out great. So thinking about the plan B, thinking quick on the fly, if
like you said, being resilient, but also being flexible, like those two things, just showing that, I'll make it work for you. You can be persistent and flexible. And I think there's a skill to develop there. And a lot of it is just breathe. Don't worry. Yes, the plan has been blown up. Let it go. Let it go. Right. What was the goal? The overall goal of the plan was to meet. Okay, great. You can salvage this as long as you don't want to come across as desperate, but you want to come across as interested. What I was trying to achieve in this situation was just to get that connection.
I knew that I wasn't going to be able to make this pitch and try to get this deal done today. It just wasn't going to happen because everybody was in chaos. But just trying like, hey, maybe we can get a time to sit around and just throwing out different ideas. I go, do you want me to come back tomorrow? And they were like, no, this and they. So, being positive, staying positive, I think has been a lifelong, crutch that I lean on all the time. When all hell is breaking loose, when everything seems to be falling apart, if you can put some kind of positive spin on it and talk about getting through to the other side, people tend to turn and look to you.
Oh,
Right. And so I didn't even work there, but I was like, hey, well, this opens up a lot of different opportunities for you guys, doesn't it? And I mean, sitting around having a beer with these people later that day, and they were like, well, yeah, actually, and we talked about who could take over and what their plan was and why they did it in the first place. And it turned, I made some really deep connections with these folks, and they then championed our business based on that meeting. And we're like, hey, these guys can figure things out. And because we wound up getting an entirely different type of business from these guys than I had anticipated, but we were flexible and resilient, and we got it and worked out really well.
That's the key. Yeah, no, I've I like I said, I can be the guy that needs to be quiet and recharge. But when I'm in those situations, I'm Happy Dave. And I'm energetic 100% of the time. It's just like, here we go. Like, let's just do it. And some people, even at CES this year, there were some people who have known me for a while. They're like, what is the matter with you? Like, you're always upbeat and you're always happy. And it's like
secret, man.
Yeah. I'm like, well, if you talk to my family, they'll probably argue with you, but like, that's fine.
That's different.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's different. That's the thing is, And they're like, gosh, it's such a, and I had many people say, wow, it's such a pleasure meeting with you because I know you're always going to be happy. And it's like, well, why wouldn't, even if I'm not happy, like I can put on a happy face for 10 minutes or even an hour. Like it's fine. Yeah. No problem. Just go do it. Yeah.
That's right. And I think that, obviously both of us enjoy talking with people and, to your comments about you don't know where things are going to lead and opening yourself up. And when you get used to that and comfortable being in that role, not only can you connect on a deeper level, but you actually become kind of inspirational to people.
Totally.
Right? Because I've had people tell me that, and I'm just like, well, what are you talking about? It's like, well, just listen to the things that you're saying. And, I was speaking at an eBay conference a few months ago, and I was talking to new eBay employees, and I was just telling them, I go, man, you're really fortunate to work at this company. Then I was giving them all these reasons. And the guy sitting next to me was like, that's really inspirational, and I was like, oh, that's great. So, cool. Yeah. Putting yourself out there and talking and, sharing your experiences and interjecting some laughter into it, part of my things that how I measure success is can I laugh each day. And so I go out of my way to come up with things that we can, laugh about. And it allows you to connect. It really helps for your personal and your small business success.
Yeah,
so I highly recommend it. So, we'd love to hear your story. This was kind of on the fly. We're getting started for, 2020.
That's right. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. We have some great stuff coming this year. I'm going to start talking about a business that I'm thinking about selling, and I'm not sure whether I should sell it or not. I'm going to talk about maybe it's time to move out of California and move all our businesses and our real estate, which is a total, I'll need some help from our listeners on that front. And so a lot of stuff to talk about and some new things coming your way, which I think you're really going to like.
I think, yeah. I've got, I'm not the kind of person that thinks, all right, this year, we've now turned a calendar year, so therefore I must do different things. But it always does sort of work out that way.
Sure.
Just because the way cycles work and all that. But yeah, we've got some, I was telling you before the show, we're doing we're approaching SEO in a different way. We're bringing on an expert is what we're doing and kind of going in with beginner's mind. Even though we've been doing this for a long time, I think there's a lot to learn. So
that's great.
Yeah, one of the businesses really I think it'll make a big difference. If it doesn't make a big difference, I will be able to point to something I did wrong, and there will be a lesson there. But at this point in time, I don't think I've done anything wrong yet. So we will see.
No, it's good. Yeah, it's early. It's early. So it's
early. Yeah, I'll screw something up for sure.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah.
Well, and that's that's the other part of this whole thing. You talk about being flexible and plan B. You have to be comfortable with failure. And you have to kind of be able to laugh it off. I mean, at some level, certainly different opportunities of failure are hurt more than others, but they are opportunities of failure, right? So you have to kind of think of it that way. Like,
go back and listen to. We did a couple of episodes, last fall about the best mistakes, and you'll hear some very successful people that have built very successful businesses talk about their mistakes and what they learned from them.
Yeah.
And we'd love to hear from you. Feedback at businessshow.co. Make 2020 the year that you're going to reach out to us and come on and be a guest on the Small Business Show and talk about your business and everything you've learned, what you've done, whether you're a dog walker or, you've built a real estate company, whatever it is. I'm on the hunt this year for unique business stories. I'm talking to some outdoors people, a woman that shelovetofish.com that I'm going to try to get on that runs a business all about her fishing, which I think is fascinating. So come on and tell your story. We'd love to hear from you. Feedback at businessshow.co.
That's it. All right, folks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for yet another great year of the show. And keep living that charmed life. We'll do it together. See you next week.